I'm Alli with Prosper Project, and I'm here with Batu. And if you've been following us for a little while, you probably remember where I've mentioned Batu before in one of my kind of solo podcasts where I talk about what it means to be courageous. And Batu, even though I've only known you for about 6 months, maybe a little bit farther.
It was maybe a year, like getting closer to a year.
Getting closer to a year. Batu's story has just had significant impact on me, especially just to encourage me to look at my life and to say, what does it mean to be courageous in making decisions that are best for me and my family? So I wanted Batu to actually tell us a little bit of the story in his own words. Batu is from Turkey,
Yes.
and he is here as a student and is currently an intern with my business right now. And I'm just very excited to get to talk with him and to ask him a few questions.
Yeah, of course.
And to hear his story through these questions. And so glad that you guys can be a part of that as well as we chat about Batu and all of his experiences. So let's start real quick. Like I said, you're obviously from Turkey.
Yes.
You know that.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. I come here for college.
Mm-hmm.
And like I am 22 right now, and I've been like just lived in Turkey and here, never been to another country. So Turkey and Mississippi is just like what I experienced so far.
Do you have to exchange currencies? I'm
Yes.
assuming, like when you come from Turkey, coming into the U.S., you're exchanging Turkish lira for U.S. dollars, and then
Yes.
when you go from the U.S. back to Turkey, U.S. dollars into Turkish lira.
Exactly, not just physically, like in my mind, it's always,
Oh.
okay, this is like this much US dollars here, like how many Turkish liras is there, like just making that simple math, like just multiplying it like with 40 all the time, like every day. So yeah, like big numbers, but like I'm just really good with like multiplying 40 at this point.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I mean,
because of the exchange rate.
yes, exchange
Yeah.
rate, one US dollars is like 40 Turkish lira. So
Okay.
one
Yeah.
coffee is like this much. I need to multiply it with 40 this much in Turkey and
Yeah.
just like see the
Yeah.
difference. Yes.
Yeah, so you're having to do those calculations
Yes,
in your
always,
mind when you're
yes.
going back and forth. Well, I did want to dig into just your experience in Turkey first. The nation of Turkey has been around for a long time, very
Yes.
long time, but it's gone through a lot of changes, I think,
Yes.
just over the past maybe 2 decades. So just am curious about your experience of what life was like growing up in Turkey. I know, as you mentioned, you're 22,
Yes.
so that wasn't
Yeah.
hasn't been that long. But
Yeah, it hasn't been that long. The still memories are fresh. Childhood, it's just we don't actually think about money that much. But when you live in a hyperinflation country, not thinking about his money is not a choice. It's just like kind of forced to you to think about like how much money you need every day, basically. When I was a child, we can just like get like $5 bills, like not $5, 5 Turkish lira bills, to just go to, like we have like small local like grocery stores kind of where we can get ice cream or like bag of chips or something. And like our grandpa, to my like, I live with like my cousins. They were like we were in like an apartment and they were like the floor above us. So we grow up together, and when my grandfather comes from work, he just like gives all of us like 5 Turkish liras, and we're like, oh, we can get an ice cream and a bag of chips. Like we all go like that. But today, if I think that it's not possible, like he really needs to just like give a big chunk of like money, which became worthless over time. Not the money necessarily, but the number written on the paper become like
how much it
smaller.
can
Yes,
buy.
the
Yeah.
number grows, but the value of it just goes down. Yeah, those days were good because like with small amount, with like coins, we could like buy an ice cream or like as a child enjoy that. But today, especially before I came here, I was like still 16, 17. That's when I start feeling the changes. Maybe I'd necessarily not name the inflation. Like, yes, I hear that news or something, but I'm not engaging that much with the terminology. But everyone is talking inflation. And yeah, like with time, like moving on, me just doing the grocery shopping sometimes, like when my parents ask for something, every day I just see the number getting larger. I start feeling the change, like just as a teenager, I can see the numbers. Like I'm not that young. I can understand the numbers and the significance of the value.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I can actually identify a little bit with what you were saying about inflation, because when I was a kid, we had 4 or 5 mouths to feed in our family, and we could go to the grocery store with $100, and that would feed us for the week. It was just that $100. We go to the grocery store now as a family of 4, and it's like $300. So I know we haven't seen it to the same extent, but we can identify with some of the inflation that you've been talking about. But I will say it's never occurred to me to try to move out of the U.S. or anything like that, even with inflation the way that it's going. So how old were you when you decided to move out, and what made you decide to do that?
Okay, yeah, that's a really good question. I actually start thinking about it, or like actually making a decision probably when I was like in 6th grade.
Oh, wow.
Because that started with like tennis. I played tennis my whole life, and it's like age of like 12, 13, I start taking it serious, and I just start looking at like countries where I can play tennis. And I just kind of see US and like the college opportunities, and I just decided maybe I should like start adopting the idea of moving to US. More the time goes, because that time I'm talking about when I make the decision, everything is fine. Like I can still just buy a lot with a small amount of Turkish money, Turkish currency. But this can be get mixed up. We never felt like a Great Depression kind of thing. Like we did not lose all our purchasing power at once, but it was just the numbers getting bigger, and you can see like I'm never going to be able to make this much to still have the same life standards. So just the gap between that good quality of life and the bottom of the life, the quality is just like getting like bigger and bigger. And that's when I was like, okay, I actually need to just make a plan to go to US. And that was always my only option because of tennis, but could have been any other country if tennis was not in the picture. But I kind of started making the researches, and I always know from like the news or like global politics or economics, like I always know that US is a good, secure decision where to just go to college or like live in the future. And that's because of inflation is everywhere, but it's a little more secure, a little more stronger in that sense, and you can actually have hope for the future. So that's the reason why I decided to move.
Well, and that honestly ties into what we were saying before about what you mentioned of inflation pretty much hitting every nation in the world now. I know we've talked on the podcast before about fiat currency and what that is, which is essentially what every nation has right now, where the central banks they create, distribute, and regulate the money that's used. And right now, pretty much every nation I know is engaging with what inflation looks like to different extents, but I know we're all feeling it at this point. So I'm curious, because that's true of every nation, including Turkey, dealing with inflation. What did that look like for you just in everyday life? I know you kind of touched on it a little bit before, but you just recently went home. And so I'm curious as to what that was like.
Even with my experience here, I did not see like big changes with the money going out of my pocket, my everyday expenses. We just had recently like the oil crisis, which hit worldwide. Like maybe you'll think like it's just here, but I talked to my parents and they're like, yes, there is like 10% like increase like overnight. So
in the oil prices.
Yes, the
Turkey.
oil prices. Yeah. So it's everywhere, but it was the first time I actually experienced something like that here. But in Turkey, it's just like even more concerning. The money you spend for the same goods, like week by week, I'm not talking about like a quarter of the year or like not like years. It's just like overnight change for the same good. I remember it so good. One day, I just I was going to cook breakfast. I was just like home alone, and there was like some ingredients missing. And I just walked to the local grocery store that we had, and like I was just going to get cheese and eggs if I'm not wrong. And I found like some small bills, like a 20 Turkish lira bill, and like some coins, which I know like it's gonna be enough for eggs and like the cheese that I wanted. And I just went and I just looked, and the money I had was not enough. But remember the price from last week. It should have been enough. But like 1 week change, the money I had like still sitting on the counter is not enough to buy the things that I needed.
Yeah.
So that's actually when I was like, and if I'm not wrong, I was like 16 or 17. At that time, I was like, okay, this is concerning, because like just even the smallest bill I have in my pocket and not spending it, like if I bought it like a couple of days ago, I could get it like what I wanted. But today it's not enough, and it actually just like made me start thinking about where everything is going. And every year, like during the Christmas, I just make a trip back to Turkey to see the family and the friends. And I can actually see how it affects their life, because like I've been here for 3 years, and in 3 years everyone can just go like Google it and check it like really quick, the inflation or like the prices of everything. Just the exchange rate of like US dollar and Turkish lira has like spiked so fast. There's like an unstoppable devaluing of the money, and I felt that affects people's everyday life happiness or their like emotions, even though like they're just not understanding what actually going on in their mind. I can see it from their face, because it's just like I'm looking at the same people that I interact with like my daily life, but because I don't see them in a year, I remember them being like this happy all the time, or like reacting like the same way to the similar situations. But now like when I go back, it's just they're different people. And when you just get in the public, it's just like you can feel the how nervous people are, how unhappy people are, not because like something bad happened in their life, not because like their life changed, just the life standards, the future that they can envision is just like getting faded every day. There is no more colors in it. It's just like turning into black and white instead of like all colorful, enjoyable future.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Because yeah, as you know, my family has lost things in the past before, and struggled with just survival, to a financial survival. So I can imagine on a large scale, when things like that are a struggle, it causes just significant anxiety. Not just for individuals, but for families and communities, and yeah. So that makes a lot of sense of what you're describing.
And in the inflation sense, it's not like the salaries goes up too. Like that's kind of misunderstood every time. And if you go check the records, I know like 5 years ago, especially before pandemic, the amount of US dollars you can exchange your salary for was I'm just gonna say a number like 300, and like today like it's just like the minimum wage can get you like $500, but like inflation hits all around the world. So but the value of the money that people get in Turkish lira, and that which they spend in their daily life, because they don't have any other option. Nowhere would accept a dollar bill or like any other currency at a grocery store. So it's just the value that they see at the grocery stores or like the restaurants that actually devalues their money. They got paid more, but they can buy less.
Yeah, so. Pay more but buy less. Yeah. So is that what made you interested in finance? Because I know you mentioned that you're a finance business major.
Yes. Not necessarily, but when it was time to make a decision, I just like what's my strength, what are my weaknesses are, and what I'm actually good at. And numbers, I kind of understand numbers better than I understand words. So I was like, maybe finance wouldn't be a bad decision, especially like someone who feels the anxiety of like currency or like economy deep down. So I think I can make better connections with my daily life with finance than any other major.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, speaking of that, we can jump into your experience here in the U.S. What has been the most surprising thing that you have learned about life in the U.S., particularly about things like currency and finance?
There is some sort of stability. It's not completely stable, which is impossible. But yeah, since the first day I got here, I can see the gas prices changing or like slight changes at the price tags of the things that I want to get. But I did not feel that anxiety that I had in Turkey, basically. It's not the same like feeling nervous about like, is this money going to be enough for the same thing tomorrow? Yes, maybe the money wouldn't be enough for a year like in here. In a larger scale of time, yes, there's still changes, especially recently feeling the gas prices. And I told you, and some people around me, like they're just like, it's just like a couple cents or a dollar on like the gas price. I'm just like, it's not. Like I experienced the exact same thing in Turkey. Gas price equals everything.
Yes.
Transportation is just like the key of everything. It started like couple Turkish lira increase on the gas prices in Turkey, but it was unstoppable because everything is transported by trucks, like 18-wheelers in Turkey, and it's just like they don't have the railroads or like any alternative transportations in Turkey, so it's just like impossible to like avoid that transportation, the bridge between what do you buy and how it's produced. So like I kind of felt like that slight anxiety about these gas prices lately. But as I said, I kind of had the hope like it would go down because like I experienced something completely new when I got here, a couple months, maybe a year before, when I see decrease in the price of the gas. Like it was just like 10 cents, 5 cents, I don't know, but I just told my parents like, I've never seen this. Like I called them, I mean, there might be still hope. With a well-sustained, like at least like sustained better than Turkish currency, can still give you that hope. Maybe the prices would go down, or maybe I can buy more in the future without like doing anything extra with still the same salary or the same amount of work. I can maybe buy more, maybe a bigger house or maybe a better car. So at least I felt that hope, which was different than Turkey, but it's not perfect.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Well, and one of the things that I've always loved talking with you about is how currencies work and economics, just because of your global experience in those areas. And I know you mentioned at the very beginning, you know, having to exchange currencies when you go back and forth, depending on if you're in the U.S. or in Turkey. So I am curious about, you know, obviously the currency we've been exploring is the Bitcoin currency, which is a global currency that's decentralized. And so, you know, one nation doesn't own it, one business doesn't own it, one person doesn't own it. It's a globally consent-based currency, essentially. Do you see, especially with traveling back and forth, can you see BTC, Bitcoin, as globally beneficial? Or what has been your experience with that of you know, you have so much experience in just national currencies. What does an international currency like Bitcoin feel like?
No one can stop me by doing that. I guess like no one can stop me carrying my Bitcoin over the seas. And always my concern was like, first time I was getting here, I wasn't sure can I like carry enough money with me from Turkey to here, just to get like a cheap car to like drive at college, you know, because like there are limits, and like countries don't want you to like transfer big amount of monies in between. So with Bitcoin, I can actually see what it's gonna exchange into
Mm-hmm.
in a different country, because like we of course we gotta spend it in a way that the country accepts it.
Mm-hmm.
So there needs to be like an exchange at some point
Mm-hmm.
for it to just use a daily life,
Mm-hmm.
like the benefit of Bitcoin, that no one's gonna question me like, why are you moving this money from this country to this
Mm-hmm.
country?
Mm-hmm.
And at least it's valued anywhere in the world. Like it's just not like a country or like Turkey or here they deny it.
Mm-hmm.
There are ways to maybe trade with someone who is willing to. Maybe if the person I wanted to buy the car
Mm-hmm.
would accept Bitcoin, I don't have to exchange it, and I can actually use it as a currency if
Mm-hmm.
the person agreed to that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good thing. So I don't have to make the math. It's just like this much Bitcoin, and I can
Mm-hmm.
buy it. Or in the other sense, it's just it's easier. I don't have to call a bank. I don't have to open a bank account
Mm-hmm.
here to actually store it or use it, because I'm a student, or like different passports, different identities. It can be tricky to open a bank account because they don't recognize your passport or your ID. There's so much going forth and back, and but Bitcoin is easier because like they get you as an individual instead of your nationality or anything, and it's easier to use it at that sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. How do you, because in past conversations, I know one of the things that's important to you is the stability of a currency, which I completely agree with is huge. So, with Bitcoin as volatile as it is, and when I say volatile, it's volatile in a good way because it was worth like a penny when it was first introduced, and now it's worth like $75,000 or no more than that per coin now. But so that's volatility working for you. But there's also volatility just on a day-to-day basis where, it doesn't feel as stable as, say, a currency like the US dollar or something like that. So how has that impacted your view of it and your use of it?
So yes, there's a big difference between inflation or like devaluing and the volatility, because like I have the hope, I have the expectation for Bitcoin to just like go up eventually. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I kind of know that the more people start using it, the more valuable it's going to become, because it is scarce. It's that what gives me confidence about it compared to other currencies, especially Turkish lira. Like I know whenever I like withdraw money from the ATM or the bank, I see like bills has the like the next serial number, like it's just like the same numbers, but just the last one is like 4, 5, 6, 7. It just goes, and that means like that's just, and it's a pretty clean, like brand new money. So, but it's not gonna be the same for Bitcoin. That's why I kind of have that hope about the volatility, because I see it as an opportunity more than a threat for my finances. Because like I'm looking at like buying some more Bitcoin right now, but I'm just like waiting when it's gonna be like more reasonable to buy it, and because I know it's gonna go up eventually. Maybe couple $1,000 less tomorrow, maybe couple $1,000 more today, but in the long run it's just gonna be more than what I put in, and I know that it's gonna beat inflation anywhere in the world, no matter what. In Turkey, the inflation is over like 100% every year, and I know Bitcoin is gonna be at least 101% increase, so cannot lose value even in a hyperinflation country.
Yeah, and I think you make a really important point, because the volatility with Bitcoin, even though it goes down, it has significantly gone up as well, and that is what sets it apart, I think, from all other currencies, because all other currencies are only going down in purchasing power, including the US dollar. And so I think when people think about volatility, they they don't typically think about the upside, like you explained really well, that the volatility can actually work in your favor with a currency like Bitcoin that actually gains in value, as opposed to knowing that the currency you're using is going to lose value. Well, I've only got maybe one more question for you. Is there anything that you feel strongly that Americans should understand just about Turkey? I love the story of your grandfather, and him giving y'all money to go buy ice cream, but then also of just your experience since then. I've loved hearing all of that. So is there anything you would want to leave listeners with as far as their understanding?
For the country, or like for the dynamics of the country?
Either way.
Good question. I mean, I love my country. Like, there's nothing that I hate, like, or like strongly don't like about it. People are good, like intention, like they're good people. I never felt like someone was like doing like having a behavior to hurt you. It's because like the financial struggles goes up, people get into more like survival mode instead of like actually enjoying the life. And psychology, like, it's, you need the basic needs to just like look up to bigger, like, or like more enjoyable things. You just need the basic needs. And when you struggle with those basic needs, it's just like becomes more like less enjoyable. But I mean, every year I go back, I enjoy my trip. I can just like go around, I can like spend time with people, and I can see places. Like, there are a lot of good places to see. I always recommend people to just at least go see whatever they want to do. They can just like find that in Turkey. Could be like a winter vacation, like skiing, or could be a nice beach, or could be like cultural. Anything can be enjoyable. But if you don't have those fears, I guess, like people in Turkey, like the ones who don't have that fear, they enjoy the country more than anyone else. But I think it comes to that fear that you have about your future necessarily. So
yeah, the survival
instinct, like the human like basic, like, I need to just eat, I need to sleep, I need to like be like safe in my house. So those basic needs. But I think it shouldn't be like a negative country. It still should stay positive, but I think it's more than money or economics than the country itself. So
yeah. Well, all I can say is, as far as knowing you, I think you're the first person I've met that's been from Turkey. And you've had a significant impact on my life, and your experiences and sharing them, and your hope that you have brought to the table whenever we've talked about currency, and I start getting really frustrated with U.S. inflation and things like that, and you're able to pull me back and say, no, we really can have hope. So I just have so appreciated you and all you are and do. Last question.
of course.
Is there anything about your experience in coming to the U.S. that would be helpful for us to understand? And I mean that in a positive or a negative way. How can we how can we engage with you even better by knowing about what your experience has been here in the U.S.?
With my experience here, I would say, especially in Mississippi, it's a different culture. Like, it's like more people have like, they made their mind about it. And when I say Mississippi, most people in Turkey like cannot draw a picture, like they cannot understand what it is and what it actually looks like, because like all they can see is just like from movies maybe, or maybe they heard like Mississippi River, like that's just like there's nothing that they can actually, when you say New York, people like imagine the skylines and like they kind of know like that big city life, but Mississippi, they're just like, I don't know. And my experience here been like opened my eyes. I just like experienced a different lifestyle and like different views of people, like a different pace of life. Necessarily because like I grew up in like I grew up in a bigger city. Like it was just over 1 million population.
Oh wow.
For a pretty small city. So
that's small for Turkey.
Small for a mid-size for Turkey. Like
okay.
It's not the biggest, it's not the smallest, like somewhere in between. But for here, yes, like that amount of area is just like, and that many people is like massive for here. Like probably the population is just like close to Chicago, like New York, like with like the how dense it is, like how close people are living for that area. So here I just experienced a different lifestyle, and that just changed my view about everything. I think it is good to like live or like experience with different cultures, different currencies, different education system, different lifestyles. So I think it's positive. There are challenges of everything, but I think there are a lot more positives that you can take out of it than the negatives or like the downside. So I would say like life in Mississippi has been a good and positive experience for me, and I think for everyone living in a different country or like experience with these new stuff would be positive.
Well, Batu, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. And like I said, it's always a joy to work with you, joy to talk to you. Thank you guys for listening in. As always, I'm Alli, and this is Batu, and we are with the Prosper Project. So like, follow, and subscribe for more interesting info on currencies and just the global economy.